I think that you're right, although most people in the cloud, I think there was some statistical surveys showing that 70% of people are running Ubuntu in the cloud.
70%?
Yeah. So if you're on AWS or Rackspace, you're probably running Ubuntu, and then
Ubuntu Linux.
So Linux did win.
But
oh my God,
arguably,
Linux won a long time ago. Linux, Android is Linux. The Chromebook is Linux. Look how well the Chromebooks are selling all of a sudden. They're huge. In fact, a great article in Wired Magazine this week from a writer who said, to students, your next laptop for going to college should not be Windows or Mac. It should be a Chromebook. And I kind of agree with him. He says, especially in light of the fact that the Android Play Store is coming to Chromebooks.
Just regarding the price difference, why would you ever buy a Chromebook over a fully featured OS X computer?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
What? Because it doesn't do what I want it. It only does one thing. It does.
It doesn't
Chrome OS.
do like it doesn't have the expandability of many apps and stuff. Like
That's exactly why you buy it, because it doesn't have the complexity.
It
doesn't have the security
But what
issues.
if I need to run software for my school, my university?
What software are you talking about?
Oh,
MATLAB?
MATLAB.
Okay.
R.
Yeah,
Photoshop.
but keep in mind that not everybody's running,
Okay, so if you're a physics or math major.
No, but like I used to
or
support,
computer science, or design, or philosophy, because you just throw it out the window in that case.
If you look, I worked with a team of schools in the UK, and there's 20 or 30 schools in the private schools in the chain. They're switching to Chromebooks for two reasons. First of all, a Chromebook is disposable. If somebody drops it or
you got another
falls
one.
it down, you get another one, and away you go, right?
Yeah.
And the price point is fair. Where you can't use an Apple iPad. If you drop it and break it, you've blown up a substantial amount of money.
I would guess that there will be, if there aren't already, web-based interfaces to MATLAB.
Probably.
I'm sure there is.
So it's a bunch of
R is a statistics programming language, but you can easily do cloud-based coding. That's not a problem. That was one thing that stopped me for a little while, but there are plenty of solutions like Code Anywhere that let you do that.
It's easy to see why Chromebooks have taken off in schools just like that, because I used to work in IT for a very long time, and the sort of idea of having a cheap disposable laptop that you can set up real easily, if it breaks, no big deal. That's great for institutional purposes. For a student, for something that they're going to bring and rely on for their entire school life, you want something a little more expandable.
Well, see, the point is that most education systems between, say, kindergarten to year 10, you don't need any of that stuff.
Oh, no, for sure. That's what I was talking about.
And the advantage of Google Chrome is that everything exists in the web. So for most schools in Google Docs.
For schools and those sorts of
things. If you're 15 or below, get a Chromebook. If you're over 15, you need actual software.
If you're going
buy
to
a real
college,
computer.
you're preparing to enter the workforce. You're going to need to run the apps that you're going to be running at work. And, you're not going to go to, a video... I don't know, like a video editing lab or something, anywhere else where they need to use specialized things.
You wouldn't show up to a video podcast with an iPad Pro, for example.
Here is...
dun, dun, dun.
He just challenged you, by the way.
What about stuff?
Here's MATLAB on the web.
Yeah,
that's true.
A full MATLAB on the web at mathworks.com.
Most of those will definitely exist on the web somehow, and we'll get there. But for big things like editing multimedia files,
again, that's a fractional usage. Like in the UK, something like 80% of real estate agents use Google Docs, and they use Chromebooks.
And I bet you a lot of college kids these days are editing videos on their smartphone, not on their desktop.
That's actually
computer.
a really, really good point, because it's created, edited, and consumed on their phones.
Right.
Right.
You have a multimedia device already. It just happens to be in your pocket. And I think part of the problem is a lot of us, even younger people like you guys, still think of a computer as a desktop or a laptop device. I think if you're in college today, maybe that's not...
you can edit video in YouTube itself. Like YouTube Creator, you can actually get a fair amount of...
So I agree.
No, I wouldn't want to do... I wouldn't want to be editing something like this on YouTube Creator, but...
If you only need surface-level, lightweight applications, you can get away with web-based alternatives that are
It's just my position that most people, even college students, that's all they
I agree with you entirely. But given that this is, Dorkcast, not normal.
Nobody watching this show would.
Exactly.
But they also, we also have the expertise to stay out of trouble, to fix a problem. And so I think those people should be using, frankly, Linux.
That guy says, I use an abacus, which is a great rejoinder to this entire conversation of microkernels.
So excellent. And I mean, keep in mind, too, that people that watching this show, and certainly around the table, can easily afford $2,000, $3,000 for a computer and justify it.
And it's an important priority for us, so we will.
But if you're a school and you're buying 10,000 computers, there's a big difference between a $300 Chromebook and a $600 iPad. That...
It's 2x.
I take a bigger offense as I'm seeing the Chromebooks get more and more expensive, right? HP just released one. There's the Pixel idea.
I don't mind seeing a little bit more expensive ones or better quality. I mean, for a lot of the Chromebooks, they're just netbooks, right? They're kind of crap.
Right, yeah.
But it's a $400, $500 aluminum like the Acer or the Dell, those aren't that expensive. I mean, that's still...
people can still buy a fancy Chromebook.
The point is, you have a choice.
Yeah, but
nobody should buy a Pixel.
That's
insane.
Going past 500 is kind of crazy. Some of the newer ones are going higher and higher.
Are they?
Yeah.
Is 500 the upper threshold for what you should pay for a Chromebook?
That's kind of what it sounds like.
You should get a touch screen now because of Android. You should get 4 gigs of RAM. You should get
Probably more. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 8. I don't think you need. You don't need a lot of storage in a Chromebook, obviously.
True.
I don't think you probably need an i5. An Atom or a Celeron's probably sufficient.
But then if I run more than like 15 tabs in Chrome, it's going to slow down. You know, that to me is when
this is bad usage. No one, I don't know why so many and it's always people on this show have 1,000 tabs open and then bitch because it's all so slow. Why the hell do you have so many tabs open?
In my defense, I kvetch. I don't bitch.
You should.
It's a non-gendered
close
pejorative.
a freaking tab once in a while.
And I will not, sir, close any quote freaking tabs or flippin' tabs or frackin' tabs because I'm using them. Darn it!
You're not using 15 tabs.
I'm using like 45 at a time, dude.
I'm gonna read
like what?
Okay.
Because like
doing?
you're working on 3 different articles. You've got a bunch of tabs
Research,
open, different browser windows. I need a computer to do work. Like
I
don't just like doodle with it.
Don't anthropomorphize your condition on everybody else.
Don't talk about Betsy that way.
I don't think anthropomorphize means what you think it does.
To the Wired article, to what you guys
Have
were
we
talking
still playing
about.
Game of Geeks?
No.
The whole idea, like some college students, sure. If you don't need much going into college, that's fine. But a lot of kids, you may not know what you want to do or what you want to start getting into.
That's
and
a good
having
point.
something that locks you in, like within a year or two, just like you change a major, you may need to change your computer if it turns out you actually need to.
So next time, when I was 18, I should have been buying a family sedan ready for when I have
so
kids.
You're prepared.
Just so I'm prepared for
Get
when
a
I'm married and
station
have
wagon.
5 kids. Yeah.
Actually,
I like that analogy.
Get a van.
That's a rubbish idea. I think that's bunk, right?
I mean,
when you're 18, you
buy
go
what
out
you
and buy a
need now.
stupid car. You turn the wheels inside out, and
that's why you buy a Chromebook. You buy
Yeah.
a cheap computer because you don't know what you're going to do with it.
That's
And then
an
if you do
argument.
want more, then you spend up big and you buy the
scooter to take you
BMW 3
everywhere.
Series. And
But then when you need to get on the highway, you need a real car.
This analogy has died, guys.
How many tabs do you have? How many tabs do you have open right now? How many tabs do you have open right now?
Okay,
You don't
well,
have any tabs because you're on a
tabs.
freaking iPad.
I have
my home
8
computer
tabs.
has over 80.
80? You know? Like you keep it open all the time?
Yeah, I have a
17,
special app
19,
that
20,
tracks all the apps so that I can save the tabs.
And why don't you? The reason you don't close it because it takes a while to reload it or something.
Generally because I'm researching around 8 to 10 topics on a different thing. So
I guess I just don't work that way. I know a lot of the people. I mean, Steve Gibson. It's all about tabs for him.
I have I think 40 across 2 browsers and 30 across 4 windows.
How big
and
are
2
the
browsers.
titles of the?
They're little. You just gotta click on them.
You go by the icons.
See right there.
You kind of know where an article came from. That's the only use of favicons that's ever used.
Favicons are great.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be negative or contrary. I just think that like if you're going to do more than a very simple task in one at a time, having a full feature computer is my preference. And I think that everyone should have the flexibility to have.
I'm not
options
telling
open
you
to
what
them.
to get. You should get whatever you want. And anybody who wants to take on the complexity, the security issues, the responsibility of a general purpose computer absolutely should.
Start cheap
but
and
it's
scale
like
up.
I wouldn't recommend you build your own computer either.
Sure.
It's a great thing if you want to, but you should know what you're getting into. And I feel that unfortunately a lot of people are doing what we all did 10 years ago because you didn't have a choice, which is buying Windows or Mac. And it's now inappropriate. It's time to start thinking either of a tablet or of a Chromebook because that's all most people need.
It's interesting that we've reached that threshold right when security on Windows devices is now inherent and easy to use. Because during the Windows XP era, the 10 years ago you're describing, that's when security was the worst, and now Windows 10 is actually pretty good. Well, NSA guy can tell us
Here's
more
an
about
interesting example. I had a great caller on the radio show. Lovely lady, Rose. She is a community manager for a synagogue, and as a result, sad to say, a target, I guess. Her Facebook account, which I couldn't understand it at first. I spent about half an hour with her on the air. Her Facebook account, unaccountably, people were posting Turkish language spam links to porn sites on. She had lost, all her friends had unfriended her. Her synagogue had blocked her posts. Facebook had warned her that she was spending out too many links. Clearly, somebody had co-opted her Facebook account. And I asked her all the questions you would ask. Okay, what, you change your password? Oh, yeah, change it all the time. I encouraged her to change to 2-factor. She wasn't using 2-factor. I said, make sure you disconnect all your connected apps. I thought maybe some app is posting on her behalf. She said, I did.
Yep.
I said, you've checked all your browser plugins. Make sure no... what browser? She's on a Mac using Chrome.
Yeah, she checked almost every box.
She did. She checked every box.
Yep.
You were listening.
I was.
And it took me a while. In fact, we did this off the air. Finally found out she had a man-in-the-middle attack going, but not from a bad guy, but from her antivirus. She was running a Avast antivirus and had installed an Avast certificate. And I asked her to look at this Facebook certificate, and it was going through Avast.
Yeah.
Now, my theory, and I can't confirm it because I can't see the computer, is that it wasn't Avast doing this, obviously, but that Avast had somehow been hacked, and somebody had figured out.
No, they do SSL interception.
Right.
Yeah, as part of inspecting.
Yes, it was a man in the middle. So the certificate was not to Facebook, it was to Avast.
It's the Avast. They were compromised.
Right.
And they
So
were compromised.
They were
is
using.
what I suspect.
They were binding root certificates, and their private root certificate was lost some time ago. You should not use.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you shouldn't be using Avast.
I remember we were talking about this on Security Now, that there's something was wrong. Okay, so they had been compromised.
Yeah.
There you go.
So your browser your browser has a certificate store in which you contain the root certificates, right? And when you install Avast, it puts its own certificate into the root store.
So a lot of antiviruses and security software do this misguidedly.
They should not do it.
Lenovo did it with Superfish, remember, for
The problem here is
advertising.
Facebook. Facebook should do end-to-end security validation. So when the client presents a certificate to
It's not
Facebook,
from the user.
and they see it's not the user's client certificate, they see an Avast client certificate, they should say that it's been a man in the middle.
This was a quasi-legitimate man in the middle that this antivirus was using to protect her.
Well, what those virus vendors are often doing is capturing the traffic that goes through and then selling that
That's
data
what
for money.
Avast was doing, as a
That's
matter
what
of
Avast
fact.
was
Yeah,
doing.
they got caught
And
doing
so is Verizon and Comcast and AT&T. So as your data crosses their networks, they're now capturing that data and selling that off.
So clearly somebody got a hold of Avast's certificate, some Turkish interloper, and was using that somehow to man in the middle.
Fairly well known.
Yeah.
Well, not very well known, but yeah.
Well, and I think because she was working for a synagogue, she probably was targeted. But in any event, my point, the reason I bring this up is, here's a person who shouldn't be using Macintosh.
Yes.
And probably was told rightly, well, if you're going to use a computer, it's easier, it's safer, use a Macintosh. Even that wasn't
But it's
secure.
not the Mac that's at fault here, it's Avast.
It's Avast, but
Like
no,
most of the problems
here's
we're having at the
fault.
moment is the virus software.
Here's the fault. She bought antivirus software and installed it, and the Mac let her, because you're the user. You know what you're doing. You typed your admin password. You must know what you're doing. She shouldn't have been using a Mac. My position is no one should be using it unless they have the knowledge to do, and most people
as a
don't.
specific need. If you reduce it, this is
Or
where
you have a
microkernels
need.
come in.
Right.
Avast attaches to the microkernel. And so, yeah. And
So, Leo, I think you make a very functional point, and one that I can't really dispute for the short term. But to me, moving people back to less complex systems that may even be more effective is anti-progress in some way to technology, it feels.
No, that's real progress.
Oh, that's real progress. I had it backwards all along. Dang. No, I still think you're completely wrong. But I respect your point, and I think you're lovely.
Thank you.